Ladies and gentlemen, as one community with one voice, please join in singing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang there, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
Please be seated. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sergeant Major Andrew Layton, and on behalf of the other members of the Jazz Ambassadors, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's performance. The Jazz Ambassadors is the official touring jazz orchestra of the United States Army, and we're on the 5th day of a 10-day summer tour. We're very, very excited to be here with you tonight in Cocoa. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And also, just so everyone is aware, we're being broadcast live on YouTube Live right now. So if you see these cameras and stuff, go ahead and wave and say hello to everyone around the world that's watching us tonight. So they're going to judge you if you guys clap really soft. I'm just saying. I want to clap loud tonight. Make Cocoa proud. The first tune you heard was entitled Ready Mix and was written by Bill Holman for the Buddy Rich Orchestra. You heard from our piano player from Hamilton, New Jersey. That's Staff Sergeant Anthony Pachetti. On the baritone saxophone from Garfield Heights, Ohio, Staff Sergeant Mike Chamberlain. And please give a nice warm round of applause for our drummer from Scottsdale, Arizona, Staff Sergeant Wesley Anderson. We'd like to do some music for you now from the Count Basie Library. This next tune comes from a recording that the band did that was sort of a dedication to the music of Frank Sinatra and all of his most famous tunes. So this next tune was arranged for the Count Basie Orchestra by Billy Byers. This is his chart on I'll Never Smile Again. That's Billy Byers' arrangement of I'll Never Smile Again, featuring on the trombone from Houston, Texas, Staff Sergeant Zach Steele. We would like to bring out our featured soloist for this evening's performance now. He has been a member of the Jazz Ambassadors for the last 10 years. He hails from Cranston, Rhode Island. Do we have any little roadies out in the audience? Anyone from Rhode Island? Sorry, Brad, it's just you tonight. He is an outstanding tenor saxophonist, outstanding improviser, as you're about to hear. And since this is, from what I've told, a cool summer evening in Florida, we're going to do a chart by Bob Florence entitled Autumn. Would you please welcome on the tenor saxophone, Sergeant First Class Promotable, Bradford Danho. How about a round of applause for Sergeant First Class Promotable Bradford Danho. Before I bring out our next artist that we're going to feature, I would like to say a quick hello to someone who was a former member of the United States Army Field Band back in the early 1960s, I believe. That's Mr. Don Crow out there in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hope you're having a great time. We'd like to bring out our featured vocalist for this evening's performance now. He's been a member of the United States Army Field Band for the past 14 years. And for the last 3 years of those, we've had the pleasure of having him sing with us. He hails from Syracuse, New York. Would you please welcome Sergeant First Class Randy White.
This is your big day.
All right. How's everybody doing out there? I know you can get louder than that. Let me hear it. Yeah, we're live. Thank you very much. That song, of course, Steely Dan's famous Peg, in that arrangement by our very own Chief Arranger, Staff Sergeant Thomas Davis, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for him. You heard on guitar, Sergeant First Class Jonathan Epley. And on trombone, Staff Sergeant Matt Carrigan. Corey. A lot of words tonight. We're going to switch it up here just a little bit. The next song was made famous by a Canadian singer-songwriter named Michael Bublé. And we perform it in honor of our deployed brothers and sisters who at this moment may be missing the birth of a child, or an anniversary, or just the comfort of their own bed. So many times these military members are in harm's way, protecting our freedom and our way of life. And with the lyrics of this next song, we wish them a safe return back home.
Another summer day has come and gone away. Paris and Rome, but I wanna go home. Maybe surrounded by a million people, I still feel all alone. Just wanna go home. Oh, I miss you, you know. I've been keeping all the letters that I wrote to you, each one a line or two. Fine, baby, how are you? And that's everything, but I know that it's just not enough. My words were cold and flat. You deserve more than that. Another airplane, another sunny place. I'm lucky, I know, but I wanna go home. I've got to go home. Let me go home. I'm just too far from where you are. I wanna go home. And I feel like I've been living someone else's life. Like I just stepped outside and everything was going right. And I know it's why you could not come along with me, 'cause this was not your dream. You always believed in me. Another winter day has come and gone away. It even Paris and Rome, but I wanna go home. And I'm surrounded by a million people. I still feel alone. Just let me go home. Oh, I miss you, you know. Let me go home. I've had my run, baby, I'm done. Just wanna go home. Let me go home. It'll all be alright. I'll be home tonight. Coming back home.
We thank you. All right, we'll bring the band back out. This next artist that we're going to do a tribute to is somebody that you may be familiar with, went by a couple nicknames, Old Blue Eyes being one of them. And this is a song that was featured in 1966, live at the Sands. It was Sinatra and Basie, Come Fly With Me.
Exotic foods as a bar, Bombay. Come on, fly with me, we'll fly away. Come fly with me, we'll float down to Peru. If Land is a one-man band, he'll toot his sweet for you. Come on, fly with me, we'll float down to Peru. Once I get you up there, where the air is rarefied, we'll just glide, starry-eyed. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so near. You might hear all the angels cheer, because we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a lovely day. Just say those words and we'll beat those birds down the Cocoa Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon, they say. Come on, fly with me, we'll fly, we're gonna fly. Get you up there, where the air is so rarefied. We're gonna glide, absolutely petrified. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so awfully near. You might even hear a gang of angels cheer, just because we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a groovy day. Just say that word and I'll beat your bird down to Cocoa Bay. Well, it's perfect for a flying honeymoon, they do say. Come on, fly with me, we'll fly. Pack up, let's fly away.
Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for Sergeant First Class Randy White. He'll be back later on the show, I promise. Before we move on to our next chart, I just want to tell you guys a little bit more about the band. Social media-wise, like I said, we are streaming live to our YouTube channel tonight, but we also do have a website at armyfieldband.com. We hope you'll go to the website and check it out. A lot of really cool things there. Our schedule's there. When we're on the road is there. Some very cool educational outreach materials. There's some free music. All of our recordings are there for free download, so we do hope you go to armyfieldband.com and check that out. We also do have a Facebook page at facebook.com/armyfieldband, so you can see all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff when we're out on the road. Some educational outreach type stuff. That's what all these cameras are doing. They're filming us so that we can put stuff up on the web for you guys to check out. So we hope you'll check that out. This next tune was written by a gentleman from New York City who is a piano player, a composer, and arranger by the name of Jim McNeely. A couple months ago, we had the great fortune of having him come down to Fort Meade and work with us for a day. We got to play some charts of his. It was very cool to get a chance to work with him. We'd like to do one of those tunes for you now. This tune he wrote for the WDR Big Band over in Europe, and it was also recorded by the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra. This is Jim McNeely's Extra Credit. Thank you very much. That's Jim McNeely's Extra Credit, featuring on the tenor saxophone from Spokane, Washington. That's Master Sergeant Pat Shook. Once again, on the trombone, Staff Sergeant Matt Corrigan. On the guitar from Greenville, Tennessee, that's Sergeant First Class Jonathan Epley. Yeah. On the trumpet, the non-commissioned officer in charge of the Jazz Ambassadors from Grand Rapids, Michigan, that's Sergeant Major Kevin Watt. And if you would, please give a round of applause for our outstanding lead trumpet player from Burlington, North Carolina. That's Master Sergeant Lisa Whitaker. And now it's my honor to introduce to you the officer in charge of the Jazz Ambassadors. Please give a warm welcome to Chief Warrant Officer Kevin Pick.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this evening, as we are about to celebrate the 242nd anniversary of our nation's independence. I am honored and privileged to bring these remarks to you, courtesy of Brigadier General Omar Jones. He is the Army Chief of Public Affairs, and he sends this message to you. As we reflect on that day in 1776, we can't help but be reminded of the words of our founding fathers, who in the Declaration of Independence said that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So before the barbecues and fireworks, I ask that we take a minute to think about those words and our responsibility to continue to be worthy of them, and the foundation that they provided for our nation. The 4th of July, our Independence Day, is indeed about the freedom that we as Americans enjoy. But that freedom did not come easy. Of course, armed conflict between bands of American colonists and British soldiers first broke out in 1775, more than a year before we declared our independence. 1775 was also when our Army was established by the Second Continental Congress. So interestingly enough, your Army is a year older than the nation it defends. That's why it's impossible not to think about our nation's independence without also thinking about the United States Army, which secured it. And as we mark our country's 242nd birthday, let's reflect as well upon the strength and patriotism of those early soldiers, a spirit that is carried on today in the hearts and minds of our Army soldiers and Department of the Army civilians. They have demonstrated that when it comes to our nation's freedom and liberty, they embody the words of our Army motto, "This we'll defend." Nothing is free in this world, above all, our freedom. I'm also reminded of the words of President John F. Kennedy in his inaugural address. "Let every nation know," Kennedy said, "whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and success of liberty. Let them know, too, that the United States Army will be at the ready." Thank you, God bless you, and happy birthday to the United States of America. Again, those remarks are courtesy of Brigadier General Omar Jones, the Chief of Army Public Affairs. Today, we call them the greatest generation. The veterans of World War II gave something of themselves to protect each and every one of us. Whether they headed off to war to defend our country or ration staple items at home, this is a generation known for their strong work ethic, frugality, and commitment to country. In honor of the greatest generation's service and sacrifice, we would like to dedicate our next 4 selections. Glenn Miller recorded this next song in 1942. You may recognize a few familiar melodies, such as "Columbia, the Gem of the Ocean" and "The Girl I Left Behind Me." The song is written in a patrol style, meaning the song starts out softly and gradually gets louder. This is to represent a military band approaching and then passing. The lyrics, written by Edgar Leslie, give us some insight on why the song became popular during World War II. Here are some of his lyrics. "Behind this cause we must keep rallying. We must be vigilant, we must be diligent. Arms for the Army, ships for the Navy, on the land, in the air, on the sea, everywhere. We need this solidarity, or else divided we will fall, of peace and happiness for all. Here is American Patrol." Master Sergeant John Altman on the trumpet. With the possible exception of Louis Armstrong, no other jazz man in the history of music touched and moved as many people through his music as Duke Ellington. Duke had recently hired a young pianist and composer to join his band. In 1939, Billy Strayhorn wrote this next selection, and it quickly became the signature theme song of the Duke Ellington Orchestra. Strayhorn was traveling from his home in Pittsburgh to meet Duke Ellington in New York City. Duke was giving him detailed instructions on how to use the New York City subway system. His first direction was to take the A train, and the rest, they say, is history. Here is Take the A Train. Staff Sergeant Thomas Davis on the trumpet. This next selection became the good luck charm for all separated lovers longing to see each other again in all the old familiar places. The song became popular when it was featured throughout a movie starring Ginger Rogers and Joseph Cotten. Also adding to the song's popularity were two recordings that were released in 1943. One was done by Bing Crosby, and the other was done by Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra, and it featured the vocals by none other than Frank Sinatra. The lyrics refer to two lovers separated by distance, but are comforted knowing that wherever they may be, they can both be looking at the same moon in the night sky. This song was arranged by one of our staff arrangers, Staff Sergeant Daniel Jameson, and features Sergeant First Class Randy White on vocals. Here is I'll Be Seeing You Again.
Cathedral bells were tolling, and the heart sang on. Was it the spell of Paris, or the April dawn? Who knows when we shall meet again? But when sweet again. I'll be seeing you all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees are wishing well. I'll be seeing you and every lovely summer's day, and everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon. I'll be seeing you. be seeing you. And every lovely summer's day, and everything that's light and gay, I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon. I'll be seeing you.
Sergeant First Class Randy White on vocals. Staff Sergeant Hamilton Price on the bass. Sergeant Major Andrew Layton on the soprano saxophone. Noted for his big band swing music, Glenn Miller entertained troops with toe-tapping beats and sentimental tunes during World War II. His orchestra was one of the most popular during the big band swing era. Miller was an exceptionally talented musician, arranger, composer, and band leader. In 1942, he enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps and was appointed a captain in the Army Specialist Corps. He devoted himself to raising soldiers' morale by modernizing the Army band. He and his band gave over 800 live and radio broadcast performances during the war. This next selection needs no further introduction. Here is In the Mood. Master Sergeant John Altman on the trumpet. Master Sergeant Pat Shook on the tenor saxophone. Once again, Sergeant Major Andrew Layton on the alto saxophone. We have now reached our favorite portion of the program. We get to honor all the veterans and their families in attendance with us this evening. If you have served in the military, if you have a loved one or a family member that has served, please stand and be honored as we perform your service song. We start tonight's tribute to the armed forces by paying homage to the Guardians of Homeland Security, the United States Coast Guard. Air Force. Seas, the United States Navy. The few, the proud, the Marines. Senior service, the United States Army. Another round of applause for all our veterans and their families in attendance with us this evening. Before we perform our final selection this evening, I would like to thank some very important people for making this evening's performance possible. First, we'd like to thank our sponsors. Let's have a big round of applause for the City of Cocoa. Color Guard comes to us from Patrick Air Force Base Honor Guard. Let's have a round of applause for our Color Guard. We'd like to thank our audio engineer in the back, Staff Sergeant Ricky Furr. This performing group, the Jazz Ambassadors, normally travels about 100 days a year, and we could not get to each and every concert venue safe and sound without the help of our two very talented drivers. They themselves are Army veterans. We'd like to give a big special thank you to Mr. Mike Alexander and Mr. Nate Weibley. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, we are live streaming this to YouTube, and we could not do that without the help of our camera crew. They come to us on loan from 55th Signal. Please give a round of applause to Sergeant Michael Logan, Specialist Connor Kelly, and Sergeant First Class Jimmy Little. We'd also like to recognize a very special guest with us in the audience. We'd like to have a big round of applause for Colonel Retired Danny McKnight. Thank you, sir, for attending. And now, here to perform our final selection, please welcome back to the stage Sergeant First Class Randy White.
If tomorrow all the things were gone and I worked for all my life and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause our flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me. And I'm glad we stand up next to you and defenders still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt that I love this land. God bless the From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, from New York to LA, there's pride in every American heart. It's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me. And I'm glad we stand up next to you and defenders still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Sing it with me. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me. And I'm glad we stand up next to you and defenders still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt we love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight, Cocoa. You've been an outstanding audience. Once again, we are the Jazz Ambassadors. Be safe going home now. We'll see you next time.